The Dangerous Days of Daniel X by James Patterson. Day 3, Chapter 14. Welcome to my nightmares. I have these incredible vivid dreams that are like high-definition virtual reality. The one I had that night was a recurring one where I was a warrior in a world like Middle-earth in The Lord of the Rings, or maybe 300. I was on a battlefield holding a shining sword, surrounded by Yankee Stadium-sized crowd of seething, hopelessly evil creatures. They were heavily armed, and every one of them was there to fight me. They all wanted their piece, but especially the real treasure, my brain. I turned to try to run, but then saw that Willie, Joe, Emma, and Dana were at my side. "We've got your back." "Well, kinda," Willie yelled. And then, as always, I saw the prayer coming at me. And, as always, number one killed me, set me on fire, cooked me to medium rare, and then ate me. I really, really, really hope I haven't just given away the ending of this story. Chapter 15. A day later, I arrived in L.A., hot on the trail of number 6, or maybe he was hot on my trail, hard to tell. As I said earlier, his name was Urgent Seth, and according to the list, he lived somewhere called Malibu. The depraved entity was believed to be in the film industry, which made sense if you think about some of the movies they make these days. I created my mom and dad again, and this time included my sister Porkchop, Brenda, to help me rent a house in Glendale, which is a suburb of L.A. The nicest thing about the rent-a-house was its gleaming gourmet kitchen. After a long overdue shower and a quick stop at the supermarket, I spent the next 2 hours cracking eggs, chopping onions, grinding meat, selecting herbs and spices. Cooking is a hobby and a passion of mine. It calms me and helps me unwind, and hey, I'm 15. I eat like a truck driver. I kept my parents and even Porkchop around for dinner and some nice chit-chat. I decided it was Italian night, spaghetti, sausage, and meatballs to be precise, but done the real way. I like to go the whole nine. Top quality, fresh ground beef, veal, pork, pancetta, and a type of Italian bacon. Roma tomatoes and extra virgin olive oil for the sauce. Fresh pasta, fresh basil and oregano and romano and mozzarella cheeses to top it all off. I've learned the wonders of authentic Italian on a trip to Sicily 6 months earlier. I wasn't there on a vacation, unfortunately, but to take out number 24, a homicidal, gun-running alien known as Bang Bang Doom, who lives in a heavily guarded villa outside Palmero. Beautiful digs, great views. After dinner, I was thinking about making a fire. Then I was going to catch up on reading this novel I picked up in Portland, Water for Elephants, a honey of a story. From the looks of ecstasy on my family's faces around the granite kitchen island, I knew I nailed the meal. Even Porkchop shut her mortar mouth for a few seconds and shoveled in dinner. "Thanks for helping me out, guys," I said, lowering my fork and raising my Pellegrino in a toast. "Here's to the best family in the world, even though you're not real." Chapter 16. After dessert, my mom hung back in the kitchen as my dad and sister went to see what was on TV. Porkchop stopped the remote on an old Simpsons rerun, her favorite show. "I saw the list of alien outlaws," my mom said, sliding me her half-eaten slice of cake. "You're going after Urgent Seth for sure? Number 6. Is that true, Daniel?" I couldn't help but detect the concern in her voice and in her eyes as well. Kind of sweet, but hey, I'm not 3 years old anymore. And I'm battle-tested. "That's right," I said, trying to act nonchalant. "It's no biggie. You are aware that this is the first time you've gone after a monster in the top 10. I hadn't thought of it in exactly that way," I said. "You're suggesting that things are going to get more dangerous for me." "That's putting it very mildly," she said. "You make the slightest mistake, the tiniest misstep. Number 6 isn't going to give you a chance to make a second one. Look what happened to your father and me. You could die this time. Do you understand what that means?" I nodded slowly, remembering the worst nights of my life when I was 3. The screams of my mom and dad, the gunfire blasting through our house, the fear as I crouched, concerned in the darkness as the prayer came down the stairs. "Thanks for the wake-up call, Mom. I'll be careful, and clever and resourceful and devious if that's what it takes. Number 6 is up to something. World-shaking. I have to do this." Then my mother did something that I think moms must have been invented for. She hugged me hard and kissed me on the forehead. She knew exactly what I needed somehow. Then she pinched my cheek, which she always does. I never understood it, but I let her get away with it every time. Chapter 17. "Okay, guys," I said with a yawn. "Thanks for all your help and counsel. I've got a big day ahead. Murderous aliens to catch, you know." "Daniel," said my father, "you're not ready for number 6. I wouldn't have been ready for number 6. Even your mother and I, working together, would be no match for this fiend." "Wait a second. No way," Porkchop said as my mom put her arm around her shoulder. "We can't leave now. There's still 5 minutes of my show left. I've never even seen this episode before. I want to see what happens to Sideshow Bob. Mom." But then they were gone. and I clicked off the TV set. I stood for a moment, taking in all the peace and quiet. And loneliness, I thought, looking at the empty plates on the counter, in fear, in paranoia. After I finished cleaning up, I decided to crash right there on the couch. I closed my eyes, and almost instantly I saw the prayer. Urgent Seth will destroy you, he said. Go back to Portland. Join the circus. Get a girlfriend if you can. Get an identity, Daniel X. Have a life. For a little while, until I come for you. Great. Now my biggest enemies are parenting me. Guess what? That's what can happen when you're all alone in the world. Chapter 18. I didn't sleep very well that night. Barely an hour. No big surprise there, I guess. Who needs sleep anyway? It was 7:45 the next morning when I reached Glendale High School. I wanted to try to blend into the community and especially avoid a truant squad run-in like the one in Portland. So I decided I'd better at least sign up for school. Truant squad, sorry. Plus, I'm sure I didn't want to admit it then, but maybe the prayer's words in my dream were starting to get to me. Until I come for you. I stopped by the front steps, taking in the swirl of relatively carefree students unloading from the buses and minivans. I was a little skittish, but also excited at the thought of hanging out with people my own age. I hadn't been to high school in, well, ever, actually. Hi, Daniel Hopper, I said to the Hi, I'm Daniel Hopper, I said to the secretary behind the counter in the main office. My mom said she faxed over my paperwork. Is it okay? The middle-aged woman checked a clipboard on the desk behind her. Oh, yes, here you are, Daniel. Did you bring documentation from your last school? Not likely. Right here, I said, handing over a forged birth certificate and social security card. The previous records I'd invented were from a fictitious private school in Haneyville, Kentucky. Welcome to Glendale High, Daniel, she said, pointing at a door beside her. Go inside and see Vice Principal Marshman. He'll help you schedule your classes. Chapter 19. I thanked the secretary and opened the vice principal's door in a cautious, respectful way. Mr. Marshman was a wide, flabby, middle-aged fellow and the school's head football coach. I gathered from the framed articles covering the wall behind his wrecking ball of a head. He was on the phone when I entered. I know you booked the bus for the debating team, Leopoldo, but how many times are my guys going to get the chance to go to UCLA and watch the Bruins practice? I gotta go. End of debate. You lose. Hi, I started as he hung up the phone with a bang. I know exactly who you are, son, the vice principal said. Around here, students speak to staff, and especially me, only when spoken to. Let me see your records. I handed them over. Sure. Not one sport, he said with a shake of his head. I see you did get a perfect attendance. I bet they gave you a shiny blue ribbon and everything back in Kentucky, he said, laying on the sarcasm. Was it me, or did the vice principal have some kind of anger management issue? I let out a breath, trying not to take his attitude personally. I like to give everybody a second chance. You do well academically, he said with a snort. What's your favorite subject? Since I had the encyclopedic power to telepathically access human knowledge, that was a tough call. I noticed Civil War books on a shelf behind his desk. History, sir, I said. He turned and stared at the Civil War books on his shelf, then back at me with a who do you think you're fooling look. What a coincidence, he said, letting my records drop to the desk. I glanced out the window behind him. Under a pure blue sky, palm trees were softly swaying in the 72-degree Southern California breeze. And I chose to attend school. Why again? Okay, history buff. I'll bump you into first period advanced social studies, the one I teach, he said, standing as the bell rang. Call me overly paranoid, but I wondered if maybe Mr. Marshman was somewhere on my list. Chapter 20. This was high school. Not too bad, not too good. Could have been a lot more stimulating. I was coming out of my bio lab, my last class of the day, when I brushed against a skinny freshman hurrying down the hall. He looked nervous and scared, and I felt kind of bad for the guy. Then I heard his thoughts in my head. Ugh, my sneakers are so 6 months ago. Everybody's checking out my shoes. Everybody's looking at me. Don't look at me, please. I shook my head like a swimmer trying to get water out of my ears. I guess I was tired and my telepathic mental filters were shot. The thoughts of the students swirling around in the corridor were leaking into my head. Well, Amanda's definitely flirting with me. I overheard a good-looking jock in a football jacket think as he winked at a pretty girl. Back at you, baby. I quickened my pace, trying to get out of there. I can promise you that knowing everybody's secrets is nowhere near as cool as it sounds. First day's over and I haven't even talked to anybody, I suddenly heard in my head. It wasn't my own voice. I don't want to do this anymore. I hate this school. I stopped suddenly, looking around to see whose thoughts I'd just intercepted. I spotted a tall, black-haired girl trying to lift a bulky backpack while also balancing a clarinet case. She turned around and I saw her face. What felt like an invisible wall toppled over on me. She was really cute. Her eyes were amazing. So why was she so sad? Hi, I said, stepping in her direction. Sorry to bother you. Could you tell me where the library is? No idea, she said quietly as she averted her eyes from mine. I'm new here. I shrugged. So am I. Say, can I give you a hand with those books? I'm Daniel. Not that you asked. She actually smiled, a half smile anyway. I'm Phoebe Cook, she said. Those eyes of hers were deep blue, flecked with silver, gorgeous and friendly. So do you have a last name too, Daniel? I paused. Of course, I had a fake last name, but it never really feels like me somehow. I felt a little strange to say it to someone as genuine as Phoebe. Daniel Hopper. Nice to meet you, Daniel Hopper. I actually could use some help, just to get my locker back open, Phoebe said. Frankly, I don't know if I can lug all these books home. I slid her bag off the floor and onto my shoulder. You're in luck, I said. Lugging is one of my better talents. She smiled again. I thought you were looking for the library, Daniel. She had me there. I got a better offer, I guess. I guess you did. Well, let's see how you lug. Chapter 21. I walked Phoebe all the way home and enjoyed every second of it. She lived on South Cedar, about 10 blocks from the high school. Her father was a computer salesman, and she told me they moved around a lot. Too much, said Phoebe with a wistful look that got to me. One of the really nice things about her, she was practically unconscious about how pretty she was. I completely understood her feeling about moving. My family moves a lot too, I said. They're kind of free spirits. Definitely. Daniel is gorgeous. I wonder if he would maybe ask me out, she thought as we stopped in front of her house. It's okay, Daniel. Go for it, I heard Phoebe thinking, wishing, encouraging. I smiled and felt a little lightheaded, actually. Newsflash. I had never had a date with a human girl. So I'd never actually asked a girl out before, but Phoebe seemed so regular and nice. Plus, I'd just read her mind, and she was interested in me. Still, I was afraid. Why don't we go to a movie, or maybe explore Glendale sometime? I finally blurted out. Our hands grazed as I gave her back her bag. Okay, Phoebe said. The movies. Whatever. That'd be great. Good. You know what I mean. She started up the stairs of her house, then stopped and turned back. Her blue eyes settled on me. Were you really looking for the library? She asked. I smiled. Nope, I was looking for you. Good answer, she said, then disappeared inside. And no, I didn't create Phoebe Cook, in case you're one of those people who like to look ahead in a story. Chapter 22. I came through the front door of my rental house, checked everywhere for trouble, then collapsed on the couch. I knew high school was going to be a change of pace, maybe challenging, maybe anxiety-producing, but I wasn't expecting boring. Everything except Phoebe Cook, anyway. After a while, I managed to peel myself up to start dinner. I didn't want to go too crazy, so I settled on rosemary-crusted rack of lamb with truffle-spiked potato puree. As I cooked, I listened to a concerto by a classical guitarist named Remy Boucher. The guy is not of this world, and I wondered if he was maybe another alien. I've had the same thought about Tiger Woods, Bono, and of course, Sonia Malacher. After dinner, I put on a fire and lay in front of it, reading Water for Elephants. 10 minutes later, I put the book down, unable to concentrate the way I usually can. I thought about Phoebe Cook. I thought about Dana, my dream girlfriend. Should I feel guilty? I didn't think so. I didn't even kiss Phoebe yet. I finally got up and made myself a pot of coffee. Then I cracked my knuckles and opened my laptop, the same one I'd found near the house where my parents were killed. Nothing better to get your mind off girls than thinking about aliens. I brought up Urgent Seth's file and read it over again. Alien, Urgent Seth, number 6. Human aliases. Changes names on an as-needed basis, often hourly. Area of infestation. LA and Orange County, California. Central City, East LA, Arizona, Nevada, Mexico, South and Central America, and still branching out. Illegal activities. Drug dealing, mass murder, abductions, torture, mind control, and possession. Did we mention mass murder? Planet of origin. Gorto 4. Alien species. Vermgipian. See footnote. Current danger level. Extremely high. Seth's goal is to depopulate Earth, then colonize it with his species. This violates every moral and ethical code extant. Special abilities. Telepathy. Extraterrestrial. Level 7 speed. Level 7 strength. Shape-shifting. Cunning. General viciousness. The level 7 strength concerned me. I was maybe a 3 on my best day. The slug in Portland had been a 4. I read the footnote. Vermgipians were beyond strange. No one knew what they looked like beneath their demonic appearing, armored containment suits. They were best known for the lethal nerve gas they emitted. If you were exposed, your cells started to melt. Then you rotted from the inside out. It was an extremely painful way to die. Extremely. Chapter 23. I like this planet just the way it is. Thank you very much. Well, except for a few problems like poverty, war, polluted drinking water, and global warming. But I knew that Urgent Seth was on his way to making those crises seem like child's play. It was time to check out LA and hopefully do some surveillance. In particular, I wanted to see the areas where Number 6 did his nastiest scut work, usually late at night. Sure you want me to drop you off here, mate? The cab driver said as we stopped at the corner of 6th and San Pedro. Since I liked to chat up a storm, I'd found out the cabbie's name was Clive. He was a good-looking Brit who'd come to LA to, surprise, surprise, become a movie star. This part of town isn't fit for a man nor beast after dark, Clive warned. I'm not fooling. I'll be all right, I told him. This is where my job is, at Taco Bell. I'm a lettuce shredder. Love those chalupas. I stood on the corner, probably looking a little lost as the cab sped away. Truthfully, this part of LA seemed like a war zone with palm trees, abandoned, deteriorating buildings and empty lots, plus a few single occupancy hotels known as homeless Hiltons. In the gutter at my feet, a rat was going to town inside a discarded styrofoam tray from a local soup kitchen. I stuck to the shadows as I did my recon. I was turning onto Town Avenue when I saw a silver minivan pull to the curb. I figured it was a drug user looking to score. Then the door slid open. Half a dozen kids between 9 and 12 hopped out. Isn't it a little late for a class trip? I thought, watching them scuffle across the street and strike a pose on the stairs of an abandoned factory. New stuff just in, I heard one of the younger ones call to a chrome-yellow Hummer passing by slowly. China, China, burning white, pure as the driven snow. Guaranteed to get you where you want to go. I'd seen drug dealing before in New York, London, even Portland, but I'd never seen such little kids dealing poison. Who would use kids like this? Maybe Number 6? I hung back in a urine-scented doorway, watching as the kids did quick, hand-to-hand sales through car windows. What a disgrace. My blood was starting to boil. About an hour later, the silver van came around again. The driver's side door flew open. A wiry, red-bearded skinhead in a brown leather jacket and a ponytail jumped out. Not Urgent Seth, my sixth sense told me, but maybe an important lackey of his. The kids rushed up to him, handing over money from their dealing. He restocked them with more plastic bags and vials. I stared at the scene, fuming. Everything about the dealer was an abomination. Suddenly, he backhanded a kid hard, knocking him onto the street, then went through his pockets for more money. That was it, I thought, stepping out of the doorway. I couldn't take any more of this creepy, night-crawling, red-bearded vermin. Chapter 24. Excuse me, I said as I approached the scuzzy dealer and felt my skin start to crawl. Haven't I seen you on the TV show Miami Inc.? No, my mistake. I think it was in the freak tent at the California State Fair. Or maybe Folsom Prison? The dealer smiled, showing off crooked, nicotine-stained teeth. Smiling was a good sign, I thought. Smiling meant he had already underestimated me. I'm looking for Urgent Seth, I told him. You seen him around anywhere tonight? Sounds to me like you're looking for urgent death. And that was when the disgusting dealer man made his move. I had to hand it to him. His dental hygiene left something to be desired, but he did have fast hands. The ice pick he stabbed at my throat traveled forward in a blur. Fortunately, I react pretty well to blurs. I took a half step back, waited for him to overextend himself, then offered up a blur of my own, a roundhouse kick across the side of his head. The dealer flew back, his skin head cracking into the van with a loud, dull whoomp. He screeched and let go of the ice pick when I stepped down hard on the back of his hand. Then I kicked the weapon into the sewer. You ever heard of child labor laws? I said. He was going for a 9mm automatic in his waistband when I had an inspiration. I reached out suddenly and laid my hands on the sides of his head. I stared into his eyes and unleashed a small fraction of my power of transformation. For a moment, the drug dealer writhed like somebody with the world's worst ice cream headache. Then he tossed his gun into the sewer as if it burned his hand. Next, the red-bearded wonder climbed to the top of the abandoned factory stairs and thrust his arm out. I have been saved, the dealer screamed for all to hear. The kids who worked for him stared with their mouths open wide. I have seen the light, the dealer yelled even louder, and I am here in the name of our Lord and our Savior to make sure that each and every last one of you sees that same light. I chuckled. In a way, he was right. I definitely saved him. If you consider erasing his memory and convincing him that he was a Pentecostal preacher being saved. The born-again dealer pointed at me as I backed away. You there, yes you, like the angel Joseph's dream in the Holy Book, I say unto thee, do not be afraid. Stay and hear the good word, for how else will you save your soul from the clutches of the devil himself? I must be off now, I saluted him, maybe to do the Lord's work myself. Hopefully, like catching urgent Seth and dispatching him, to the everlasting fires.